It's hard to believe all this stuff on the table in front of me fits into this little camera bag. And what's not even shown here is the camera itself. The camera itself is right here, filming the top-down view of this video. Hello, my name is Kevin. I'm a graphic designer and hobbyist photographer in Michigan in the United States. I started learning photography about 5 years ago. So I've spent about 5 years actively learning how to use my cameras, learning about the exposure triangle, and learning about processing programs like Capture One in Adobe Lightroom. So this is the Urban Approach 5 from ThinkTank. ThinkTank is a brand that you've probably heard of before. They make all sorts of little carrying cases for different kinds of accessories related to photography and video work. When I bought this in 2017, they also had a larger version called the Urban Approach 10, which is taller, a little bit bigger, holds a lot more. It's designed to hold a camera with a long zoom lens. So I ended up buying the smallest version of it, the Urban Approach 5, which was designed to hold small mirrorless cameras. And at the time, the camera that I was using was called the Sony NEX5T. It was a little mirrorless Sony camera, very small, and I had 3 Sigma prime lenses to go with it. This bag was perfect for that setup. And I bought it right before my wife and I went to Japan. But during the pandemic of 2020, I started to get interested in learning about video, which prompted me to buy a different camera, the X-T30, which is filming this right now, up on the stand here. And a little bit later, I bought the X-T4, which is filming me from this direction. So because I'm getting more into video, I'm now starting to think I need a different setup, something just a little bit larger than this that'll hold a microphone and the bigger X-T4. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I pack this bag in order to support my still photography practice. And at the end, I'll talk a little bit about what I plan to do to accommodate a video setup. So here we go. Let's start with the biggest stuff. The thermos right here, made by Tiger, is a 12-ounce thermos. I got it from Amazon. It's really nice. It fits into this bag perfectly. Sunglasses fit right in there. Same pouch. There are 3 pouches here. The camera itself goes in the center, but as I mentioned, it's filming me right now, so I'll put that in last. So the camera itself sits on top of 2 batteries. I always bring around a couple of spare batteries with me. The exhausted batteries get turned upright like this. The batteries that still have a full charge get turned like this, so it shows the dot as the indicator. And then this just sits down at the bottom of the center compartment. And then on top of that, I set this little rolled up piece of fabric. It's a microfiber cloth that I just roll up into a little cushion that holds the X-T30 when it has a lens on it. And it folds down and it just kind of cushions the bottom of a lens like that. The front compartment holds all my flat stuff. It's held down by a Velcro. You can take a look at it here. There are little slots for different things. I always carry around a pen and a pencil, a slim wallet, a small notebook. In this compartment on the right, I usually lay down a spare lens. Sometimes I take along the 18mm f2.0. Along with an ND filter. The ND filter usually stays attached to the lens itself. And I usually cap it off with the lens cap and put the lens hood on there. And then that way, these things are all together in the bag in case I need it for my main lens. And then I cover it with another microfiber cloth, which makes for a nice little flat spot to throw all of my miscellaneous stuff in there. Headphones. I'm always riding my bike out into the country, listening to audiobooks and podcasts, things like that. So these things are really important to my enjoyment of my time out on my bicycle. Eye drops because I'm allergic to everything. Tums in case I drink too much coffee. Keys. Sunscreen. And then sometimes I bring along a little tripod which fits nicely back into the corner of the bag. This tripod, by the way, came with me to Japan, and it was the thing that I used to shoot my first, what I consider to be my first actual like photography project. It was a corridor in Takamatsu, covered arcade, where I shot a series of long exposures. They were all 1/6 of a second, where I used a remote shutter, a wireless remote shutter, to take pictures of people walking by, and I framed them up inside of these big metal doors that were pulled down because the shops were closed at night. The big metal doors ended up making a perfect backdrop for these people that were walking by. Some kind of little snack to bring with me. These usually fit perfectly in the front pouch. Now, another thing that's pretty nice about this bag is that this front pouch right here actually will hold an iPad mini. So this is another thing that makes this bag perfect for travel. The GoPro Hero 7 Black, which lets me film my bike rides. That's something I started to do during the pandemic since I was already going out on long bike rides and shooting photos while I was out. I decided to just kind of combine some of that into video work and document the photography that I was doing. And a spare battery since the GoPro is basically always running out of batteries. And then that sits on top. The battery goes in the side pouch. And on the camera itself, I usually have this, the 35mm f1.4. This is easily my favorite lens for the X-T30. So here's a strap. This strap is actually from a laptop bag, from an in-case laptop bag, which has this nice padded shoulder strap. So the strap that came with this bag, I actually cut off of it. It comes with this little leather piece that attaches it straight to this ring on the side. And I found it to be a little bit too constrictive. It didn't really move as fluidly as I would have liked. So I ended up just kind of cutting it off, which is kind of a shame because it was a nice sewn piece of leather. So I ended up borrowing a strap from another bag, an in-case laptop bag, which has this nice clip, this nice swivel clip. So it ends up just kind of feeling much freer on my body. And you can see at one point I actually modified this a little bit, this stitching right here, in order to allow for this thing. I put this thing on my bag, which is a lens cap holder. Back when I first got this and I was using the Sony NEX5T and the Sigma lenses, all three of those lenses had the same lens cap size. So this made perfect sense. So I could pull a lens cap off and just kind of plug it into this thing on the strap right here. It's really nice setup. None of my Fuji gear fits this, so this is sort of an artifact of the past. And this strap removes very nicely for when it's not needed. And this is how I actually travel with the bag. So when I get on a plane, what I usually do is just cover this thing or put it into a bag like from Target, a plastic bag, something like that, and fold this open. So this kind of sits on the floor in front of me. So I have access to my camera, my iPad, a drink, just stuff like that. This top handle is actually something that I found is pretty unusual about this bag. Most of the bags that I was researching at the time don't have this. And this thing turns out to be just incredibly useful. I'm constantly just moving this bag around by the handle. It's very nice. It's so much nicer to move this thing around by a small handle like this rather than having to grab it by the big long strap. But again, this is kind of a unique feature. One of the reasons why this bag I think is so nice. Another pretty cool feature about this is the front part here. This flap comes open and you have this cover so you can control how much Velcro is exposed. The idea here is that you can kind of silence the bag, or at least make it a little bit quieter when you open it and close it. So if you wanted, you could cover it completely and just use this clip in order to lock it into place. That's not really how I use it. I tend to just leave a little bit of the Velcro exposed, and then it catches, and even just a little bit like that is enough to catch the Velcro, no matter how stuffed full of junk this bag is. So you can always kind of attach it at different places. It's a pretty nice design feature. This part right here, it gives you a little place to put a business card. I basically just use a little printout with my name and number in case I lose this bag. God forbid that would ever happen. That would just be terrible if I lost this, since basically this is all of my favorite stuff all in one place. And then the side has, and you can actually see what I do with this little expandable pouch here. These little nylon pouches is where I put my this is where I put my Fuji lens caps and my filters, things like that. And it has another one on the other side. That's where I put my wipes. That's where I put these little things, these hand cleaners and insect repellent, things like that, and spare GoPro battery. In the promotional videos for this, they showed people putting water bottles into these, which just seems insane to me, because this is, it would just ruin it. So I can't believe they did that. Another feature I really like about this bag is that it has this flat pouch on the back. And what I usually do with that is store things that are flat and need protected. When I go on vacations, one of the things that I do with my wife is go to museums and sometimes antique stores. And it's because I like to collect vintage photographs, vintage postcards. These are a few of them that I bought on a trip in Paris. I just love things like this. I love buying them as little souvenirs and keepsakes from places that I go. And then keeping them protected it's really important, especially if they're vintage, if they're older like this. So you can kind of bundle them up together into an envelope like this, put them inside this part of the bag, and they stay nice and protected. So as I mentioned, I'm starting to get more interested in taking video along with doing the still photography that I normally do. What that means is I'm starting to think more about using the X-T4 as my primary camera, which is much better at shooting video than the X-T30. However, the X-T4 is a little bit bigger, and the lenses that go with it, they're also a little bit bigger. And in order to shoot good video, you need good audio. So I need to make room for carrying around something like this. This is the Rode Videomicro. Sits on top of the X-T4. Pulls in pretty good audio compared to the native microphone on the camera. But with the camera in the middle slot, there really is just no room for it. So a lot of times what I end up doing is making concessions, like leaving behind the thermos, the sunglasses, and then just letting this compartment be where I put the Videomicro. So that works pretty well. However, as you can see, this little slot right here it's pretty small. It's perfect for the X-T30, but it doesn't really hold the X-T4. Certainly doesn't hold the X-T4 when you have a big zoom lens on it. So if I want to bring along the X-T4, a zoom lens like this 55-200, a little microphone like this, I'm gonna need something a little bit wider. So the thing that I've been looking at lately is called the ThinkTank Mirrorless Mover. It's made by the same company, ThinkTank. It's another product that's designed for mirrorless cameras, but it has a little bit of extra length to it in order to accommodate just a little bit of extra gear. So that's ultimately where this is headed for me anyhow. And as you can see, this bag is just beat to hell. I've used this bag for so many different things. This bag has gone to so many different places with me. It's absolutely filthy. There's threads that are coming out. This Velcro doesn't work anymore. It's constantly covered in mud from my bike rides. The bottom part is constantly covered in mud from my bike rides. You can see some of that right here. Pockets are getting a little bit stretched out and worn. You can see the ring impression here. So this bag is a little bit past its prime at this point. So, all right, there you go. There's a look inside my Urban Approach 5. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. I know there are already 10,000 videos like this on YouTube, so I realize I'm just throwing another one into the echo chamber. One final thing I'd like to mention, I just got back from a long trip. I went to Sleeping Bear Dunes in northern Michigan with my wife. Took a lot of photos, took a lot of video, so I'm going to be profiling some of that in future videos. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you in the next one.